Hello everyone, this is Uruk for Root Gaming. I'm going to be casting a couple of games here today, just be putting on our YouTube later on. So you should visit us at root-gaming.com and youtube.com/rootgaming. Today I'm going to be starting off with a PvP here between Suggy and Uruk. This is just a random ladder game. Most of these replays were given to me by Root members, just recommending them as good games that would be entertaining for you guys to watch. So I have no idea what this game actually is. I just know that Suggy said it was a good game and that I should check it out. So we are going to have a PvP on Steps of War with Suggy as the red Protoss in the top right and Uruk as the blue Protoss in the bottom left. We can see Suggy dropping his first pylon way off to the left in his base. This could be a bit of a mind game where he's trying to trick his opponent into thinking that he's proxying him when he really isn't. So that he'll cut probes and build extra defenses, and then Suggy could play normally and just kind of freak him out. So we'll have to see if Uruk actually scouts this or not. It doesn't look like he is going to, as he does drop his gateway at about the normal timing inside of his base. Uruk does as well, waiting to see if this will trick him into dropping a second gateway or not. There we go, there's the second gateway. So Suggy most likely is just going to play normally off of this, while his opponent is going to be sitting back and waiting for the incoming rush. Probably going to be spending quite a lot of time looking for the proxy all around the map, because he did not actually scout out this gateway at the left side of Suggy's base. This is somewhat of a common mining game that I've seen. It doesn't happen too often, but I've seen it a number of times. You can see Uruk is saving his chrono boosts for his gateways because of this. If you look back, Suggy has used a couple on his probes, so he is ahead by about 4 probes at the moment. So he's going to be taking a decent economic advantage. He's going to see that his opponent has gone 3 gateway because of this, so he's probably going to add a few more gates just so that he doesn't die to a counterattack. But right now he's got a pretty decent economic lead. He's going to be able to... oh, he actually drops a cybernetics core. So this is a little bit different. Usually I would expect to see him go at least 2 gate in this situation, though he could just get a sentry out, force field his ramp, and just be like, LOL, I've got an economic advantage, and I've got a tech advantage. As you can see that Uruk hasn't built a probe in quite a while. He's at 15 versus the 20 of Suggy. So he's now ahead by 5 probes. If you look at the income, that's a pretty big difference, as he's ahead in minerals ever so slightly, and mining gas while his opponent is not. So he's now going up to 2 gateways. He has a first stalker coming out. I would imagine he's going to build a sentry as well. Uruk seems to have figured out that this rush isn't coming, so he's going to move forward and he's going to run straight into a wall of zealots. So he's going to have to be careful here. This stalker will pop out in time to help defend against this. It does appear. After that, he's just going to keep pumping out stalkers. And now Uruk's in a little bit of trouble, because as long as Suggy keeps these here, it's going to take him quite a long time to break through this. And the entire time he's trying, the stalker is going to be shooting at him, just chipping away at his units. So he realizes that he's been kind of fooled at this point. So it's either, you know, go all in with zealots or try and sit back and tech. And it looks like he's going in with these zealots. So Suggy's going to have to micro here. He does have 2 stalkers out. He's going to start picking away at these zealots. Hopefully he will focus fire and do a good job with it. But the stalkers are ever so slightly faster than the zealots, so you are able to micro against them if you don't get impatient and you just keep moving and not trying to shoot too much. But Suggy is not really microing this. He's pulling probes, and he really needs to keep this stalker moving, but he could not quite do that, and now he's having to pump units out of his 3 gateways, losing probes left and right. Suggy got himself into a little bit of trouble. Probably should have gotten a sentry out just to help force field if he got into a lot of trouble like this, because he did scout the 3 gateways of his opponent. But, you know, Uruk's going around killing as many probes as he can. He is, even in probes now, going to be pulling ahead as he starts killing even more of Suggy's workers. So I'm not sure how Suggy is going to get himself out of this. He is getting warp gates out. Should help quite a bit, but he's down to only about 7 probes now. This is pretty disturbing. Looking pretty bad for our Root Gaming hero Suggy, as Uruk completely chopped up his mineral line with these zealots. He does have enough stalkers out that if he micros it, he'll be able to chase these away. Looks like he's actually microing it this time. So he is forcing these zealots to retreat. And if you look, Uruk doesn't have any tech. He's just got zealots. So there's a possibility that if Suggy keeps producing these stalkers, he could counterattack and do just as much damage to his opponent's mineral line. You can see that, you know, he's going to keep warping in stalkers here. He needs to get some probes on gas just so that he can keep warping in stalkers and putting some pressure on his opponent, because he does not want his Uruk to catch up in the tech here, get his warp gates out, and get too many stalkers out on the field. If he can get into the base and start shooting probes, that would be ideal. Suggy's not quite microing this the best. He's doing a little bit better now, but if you look at the worker count, he is sort of catching back up, so if he can delay and kill zealots here, I guess he might have a chance, even though he really shouldn't. Uruk should probably just run in with these zealots so that Suggy can't really do anything to his base, and he can continue to keep his probe advantage while he techs up. Because this is a lot of zealots. Suggy would have to focus a lot of effort to out-micro these. He's kind of doing it, but he's not really microing it the best. So, you know, Uruk has several stalkers on the way now, and that's probably going to be enough to make Suggy back off. This is pretty poor pylon placement. Suggy might be able to unpower these gateways, but Uruk does move forward in time to try and stop that. And if we look back, he's going to be up to 5 gateways. I'm not entirely sure he can support that at this point. And he's going to be supply capped, so here we go. Suggy's going to try and unpower the rest of these gateways, and it looks like he's going to get it. So now he's down to just 2 gateways. There's a decent number of stalkers out on the field, a couple more warping in at his base. Suggy's just coming back and forth, doing as much damage as he can with these stalkers, losing one, not quite getting it away in time. But Suggy's suddenly looking pretty good in this situation, as Uruk is having to stop making probes again in order to defend this, while Suggy is still producing probes one at a time back at his base. Has a few too many queued up in his Nexus, as he probably would be able to get another stalker out with that extra money. But he's still doing alright at this point in time, doing a good job of doing these hit and run tactics with his stalkers. Uruk really needs to, I think, just commit to attacking here, because he keeps dancing back and forth. If he were to move in with these zealots and stalkers and microed it, he might actually be able to do a decent amount of damage. But he just keeps moving forward a little bit into range of Suggy and then moving out. And Suggy's adding his 4th gateway. I'm not entirely sure if he's going to be able to support that or not, but we will find out. It looks like he's doing a good job of keeping up with the gateways now that he has reproduced most of his workers. And Uruk warping in a ton of sentries. I'm not sure if he's going to start throwing out guardian shields. That would be pretty nice. Hopefully that's what he's going for. But Uruk now with a decent force, looking like he's going to try and counterattack. So the tides have turned a little bit once again. Suggy does have a sentry this time, so he will be able to force field off his ramp. Neither player really teching any farther than Warp Gate at this point, after that sort of weird opening where Suggy forced Uruk to cut probes, and then Uruk said, "Screw this, I'm going to kill your probes." Suggy is back ahead in workers. Uruk really needs to keep producing probes and, you know, not let Suggy back in the game worker count wise. But it's a little bit too late for that. He has a lot of energy on his Nexus too. Maybe if he was using that energy he wouldn't need the 5th gateway. I'm not entirely sure. But if we look at the army counts, they're just about dead even. Suggy is starting to balance out his army a little bit more by warping in some zealots. So at this point I would have to be giving a slight advantage to Suggy just because he has a ton of Stalkers and he has enough Zealots mixed in that he will be able to tie up his opponent's Zealots while the Stalkers shoot him down. So Uruk is attempting to expand at this point, which is a decent move since he has his opponent trapped on his ramp, but that force field is a little bit late. Suggy's doing a good move of moving back here so that in order for Uruk to try and hit those, he'll be moving into range of the other Stalkers up on the cliff. So, you know, Uruk is moving in here. He has his Guardian Shield up, which is mitigating a decent amount of damage. But Suggy's going to probably make it down the ramp here, but he gets his units over here in the corner trapped in by force fields. A nice move there by Uruk, as he is going to be able to consolidate his forces now, but he's pretty much out of Zealots, so his Stalkers are getting cut down a decent amount by the opponent's Zealots. But now Uruk doesn't have any Zealots left, and he's just losing all of his forces to these Stalkers and Zealots of Suggy. So this is pretty bad for Uruk at this point, as now Suggy's probably just going to counterattack in on his natural, and he might have enough forces to kill it. It's going to be pretty close. Uruk is trying to warp in as many units as he possibly can. It looks like he might be able to just barely hold this off, but it is going to be a close call. He needs a few more ranged units. He keeps going a little bit too heavy on the Zealots. Zealots are great with Stalkers in combination. Because if they don't have enough Zealots, the Zealots will kill a lot of the Stalkers. But at this point, Suggy just has enough to distract his opponent's Zealots while the Stalkers can kill them. He kind of mismicroed that. He's spending a little bit too much time dancing around instead of just focus firing. But it looks like he's going to be alright. And an Immortal is coming for Uruk. This is a bit dangerous for Suggy. He is not teched at all. He needs to keep up the pressure, try and take out this expansion, but he's just warping in a ton of Stalkers. I'd like to see a few more Zealots in composition, but at this point it looks like he will most likely be able to kill this expansion, as most of the probes there do go down, and he's going to start focus firing it. So Uruk might not be able to save this. He is going to be moving down the ramp. It's going to be at very low health, as Suggy is forced to stop and fight. With the lack of Zealots right now, you can see that he's just being pushed back very easily, so he does warp in 4 Zealots. Good move there. Going to focus fire this Immortal. Once that's down, he's going to let these Zealots move in and take a lot of the beating for his Stalkers. And at this point, it looks like Suggy's just going to win. And there's the GG. So nice back and forth PvP there. High aggression, a little bit of mind games. Make sure you stay tuned to youtube.com/rootgaming for more games, and thanks for tuning in.